Alright guys, so here's the review of the Baltany 1921, or the model number S4046. So I wasn't actually aware of the watch this is homaging until I did a shorts video and somebody said in the comments what it was. So I'll pop that up on screen so you can see what it is quickly, and you can see it's quite a big price difference between the two. So the question is this any good? So it comes in the usual Baltany packaging, so I'm not going to go into detail on that, you've seen it plenty of times before. I'm going to get right down to the watch. And here it is. So as you can see, it's a pretty distinctive looking piece, as is the original, but there's a few little differences between the two, as you'll probably notice as we get into the review. But before we do that, first of all, let's go over the dimensions on this. So we've got a diameter of 38mm, thickness of 10.5, lug width of 20, then the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 44.1. In terms of weight, on this supplied leather strap, it's coming in at 70 grams, so some pretty nice dimensions. Kind of what you'd expect for a dressier kind of watch. It's below that 40mm, and when it comes to that strap, it is a really nice one as well. So I'll quickly show you this before we get down to the actual head of the watch. So it's a really soft and supple strap. Doesn't have any breaking period at all. I'd argue it's probably the best strap I've got on any AliExpress watch that comes with it. It's that nice and it's that good. It's obviously got the matching Baltany branded hardware on there as well, which is polished, same as the case. Then we've got the Baltany branding on the back of the strap. And again, nice stitching, all really nicely done. It's not a quick release, the only slight downside maybe. And it is genuine leather, as you'd expect. And I just think it suits the watch perfectly. I think this is the one you get with both dial options, because if you're not keen on this salmon dial that I've got, they actually do it in a silver as well. So you've got a couple of options there. So before we take a closer look at that dial, let's go over the case first, because it's a pretty distinctive looking case too. So it's a rounded off kind of square case, but it is really nicely done. I do like it a lot. And we've got that crystal that just sticks out ever so slightly above it, which is slightly curved too. When it comes to the lugs, they're really nicely done, nice turn down on them, so helps conform to wrist nicely, because otherwise it's a fairly flat case. But you can see we've got a high polish all over, so it is a bit of a fingerprint magnet. And then if we turn it around, take a look at the other side, you can see we've got that unusual crown position as well on the corner. So I've actually been having a few problems trying to actually get decent pictures and stuff of this, because it is such high polish. My camera struggles to focus on it. I think it might be doing that in this video as well. In particular, it really seems to struggle trying to focus on this crown. It just doesn't want to do it at all. But we'll take a closer look at that crystal I mentioned earlier. You can see a bit more clearly now. It's ever so slightly curved and it is sticking out ever so slightly past that case as well. Flicking around to the back, you probably saw it briefly before when we were looking at the strap. It's a high polish on that back as well. So that's, again, a bit of a fingerprint magnet. And I just couldn't get pictures of this at all when I tried doing it. It's pretty much like a mirror. So all I was getting back was the camera lens. So hopefully I can show it a bit better in the video here. So we've got the Baltany branding in the centre. And then when it comes to the specs, we've got them around the outside. So stainless steel, sapphire crystal, the fact that it's an automatic movement, and then 50 metre water resistance. And then you can see we've got actual screws holding on the case back, as opposed to a screw down case back. But now, let's take a look at that dial. Question is though, should we be looking at it on this angle, or should we be doing it like this? I'll do it like this, so you get a bit more of an idea what it's going to be like, instead of looking at it on a slightly weird angle. So the first thing that's probably going to jump out at you is the fact that we've got applied indices with a nice high polish. I don't think the original has that. As far as I can remember when I looked, the original is just fully printed. In terms of the stuff that's printed on this one, it's just the branding with Baltany at the top, and then that train track around the outside. We've got that same nice high polish on the hour and minute hands as well, but you might have noticed on that sub-dial on the second hand on there, that is actually blued. So it's not just painted blue, it's actually heat treated. So I'll get a quick zoom in so you can see it in a bit more detail. So depending on the angle, that'll look either black or that metallic blue, depending on how the light's catching it. So just an extra little splash of colour there. And you can see the way the light's catching all those indices in the hands, as well as that really nice, shiny, salmon coloured dial. I do really like this. It's got that sunburst going on as well. And it's quite subtle in terms of salmon. It's not like a really bright one, so I do like that. I think if it had been really bright, it wouldn't really have suited the style of watch. But again, if you're not keen on this, they do a silver instead. Now we're zoomed in, I'll also show you that crown in a bit more detail as well. As you can see, it's a nice thin crown, which I think suits it nicely, especially with the positioning of it. If it had been a larger crown, it would have looked a little bit odd. But now, let's check out whether we've got sapphire crystal or not on this. Using the trusty diamond selector 2. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal. So it's always good to see, especially the fact that he stated it on the back as well. So now, let's talk about the movement on this. So it's an ST1701. So it's got a 40 hour power reserve, beat rate of 21,600. So if we just pull out the crown, we've got no ghost date or anything, just the one position. But if you look down at that subdial, you can see we've still got the second hand ticking round, so we don't have hacking. Not a big deal for me, but I know that might be an issue for some people. So we just change the time now. Pop it back in. And then we've got hand winding. All works well, no issues at all. As I say, the only slight negative is the fact that it doesn't hack. Let me know down in the comments, is the fact that it doesn't hack an issue for you? Would that be a deal breaker? Either way though, it's a really nicely made watch, as you've come to expect with Baltany. I don't think I've ever had a bad one, and this one's just something a bit different, which I really like. So obviously with it being a dress watch, we're not going to have any lume on this, so we're not going to be doing a lume shot. So all that's left to do now is show you what it's like on wrist, and then we'll go over the pros and cons and wrap this up. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it wears really nicely, especially with this strap. As I say, this is probably the best strap I've ever got on an AliExpress watch. You're not going to need to change it out if you do like this. Really comfortable. And again, it wears really nicely on wrist as well with that compact lug to lug, with those nice curved lugs. So when it comes to telling the time on this, obviously you don't have to put your wrist right round because of the way the dial's laid out. So you can just have it like that and easily tell the time. So either if you're driving or something, or I don't know, if you're at your desk working, you don't need to bring your arm around, you can see it while you're typing or whatever. So when it comes to the case being fully polished, obviously that's a bit of a double-edged sword. So it looks great when it's getting the light reflected off it. As you can see, the light's catching it. Just plays with it, just makes it look really nice, I think. And obviously with the indices and the hands as well, also catching that light with the high polish. But again, with the case, you are going to get fingerprints on it if you're going to be touching it quite a bit. But that's only a minor thing, but it's something worth mentioning. The only real slight issue I have, maybe, they could have had that blued hand as silver. But again, it's going to be one of those, whether you prefer it blued or silver. But as you can see, I'm struggling a bit to find negatives with this. That's the only real thing, and the fact that it doesn't hack, but as I say, that's not a big deal for me at all. Overall, I think it's a really nice watch. It's really nicely made, as you come to expect with Baltany, and it's not one I've seen Homage before. It's something a bit different. So if you're still interested in picking one up, don't forget to use the link down in the description. That will help support the channel, but you don't pay any extra. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.